Well, I'm going to discuss the communication component of the autism spectrum. And the interesting thing about the communication component is this is the one area that affects every person who has autism. Some of the areas are not addressed with all individuals, but communication is. And communication means any form of communication. It can be verbal and it can be nonverbal. Sometimes the students or the children don't speak to us, but they display their communication by their actions. So that is another form of communication. Tonight what I'm going to talk about is mainly the verbal communication. Approximately 25% of all of the children with autism never do become verbal. So I think in our school system that we are very, very lucky because all of our kids do have the verbal capabilities. It does take two to have communication. So when you see a child with autism talking to themselves, they are not communicating, they are just enjoying themselves in their conversation and probably doing some self-stimulation, but that's not communication. I'm going to go through two different kinds of communication. I'm going to give you some tips that are just going to be for the students. These will be what I call student skills, and I'm going to give some parent tips. All right? And so the first thing for the student skills, one thing that everybody wants to talk about is eye contact. And eye contact is important, but eye contact does not mean staring into somebody's eyes. That is highly disturbing to someone with autism. Sometimes a person with autism can only glance at you and then they need to look away in order to communicate. Their systems become so sensory overloaded that their brain stops working when they have to look at you. So demanding eye contact with somebody who has autism sometimes is not the best answer. So we do teach them that they need to make eye contact because that is what you do when you speak to someone. That initiates the conversation. But then allow them to look away. And they will come back and they'll look away. But don't force it. There's a difference between staring and eye contact. Pronouns are always an issue. It's kind of hard for somebody with autism to get into somebody else's point of view. They are an island among themselves, and so it's hard for them to relate to others. So sometimes they get their pronouns mixed up, and every individual is different with their communication. Their autism is a little bit different, so what I'm saying tonight is very general, and every student with the autism will have some different form of the communication style, but pronouns usually are. They just don't seem to be able to understand the emotions of others or empathize with them or sympathize with them, and that's something that we just need to reiterate. We need to talk about. We need to point out whether people are sad or what made them mad or what made them frustrated, so that they eventually can learn those. Some children do develop vocabularies that are very large, very quickly, and this is where we think that they have huge vocabularies. A lot of times the vocabulary pertains to their interest, and they will have a huge vocabulary about the things that they like and that they're very interested in, but they may not know the other vocabulary that's going to carry them through life or school. And so teaching vocabulary of school and academics and just being interested or conversing with other people about topics that other people may be interested in is a skill you'll have to develop. Well, that goes along with not paying attention. Sometimes if you don't talk about their topic, they just aren't interested in what you're saying. So it's a practice skill. We'll need to work on communicating about other points of view or other interests and topics of interest. Practice conversation, practice with your child. This is my interest, this is what I like to talk about. Practice 2 or 3 sentences or an exchange or however long you can go talking about something that you like rather than always what they like. They do not typically understand body language. They don't understand facial expressions. That's just something that doesn't register. So you'll have to work on that. You'll have to teach that. They do not understand sarcasm, the tones of voice that you use when you're saying something and you're not meaning what you say and you sound sarcastic. They take you at your word. So they don't understand the figurative language. They don't understand those "it's raining cats and dogs" kind of things. The words that you say are what you mean. So you have to teach those as they get older, but when they're younger, try to avoid those. They sometimes talk kind of with robotic speech. Their brain just does not hear the natural flow and the natural rhythm of speech. And for them to understand better, I'm not a very good example at the moment, but you would talk slower. You would try to imitate the speed of Mr. Rogers, which is about 90 words a minute. And typically we speak 120 to 140 words a minute. So slow way down, and they will understand and be more responsive to you. They do not rely on gestures, and they don't understand pointing. So that's a great thing to work on, is getting them to follow, point it, and understanding that when I point to something, this is where the interest is over here, and so you would look to the point. And it's difficult for them. A lot of times people want to teach sign language, but it's very difficult for children with autism a lot of times to learn gestures and sign, because their hands are very sensitive, and this is where if they're going to do any stimming or they have sensory issues, it'll be in their hands. And so to have signing layered on top of that it's just very difficult, so signing typically doesn't work. For parents, my parent tips, okay? Speak in short sentences if it's an important message that you want to get across. Don't lecture. Be concise. Make it factual. Make it very literal. Don't add any of those extra words that can be misinterpreted, or those cute sayings that we have. When you're going someplace and you want to put your child into a social position, let them know ahead of time that they're going. If you're going to a birthday party, remind them that they should tell the birthday person happy birthday. Remind them to do that. They just don't understand that that's a social necessity that they have to do. Whatever situation you're going in, think of whatever you would expect them to do, to be responsive, to participate in a conversation. Let them know ahead of time, practice it a few times, and then cue them when you get there. If they don't do it, and they probably won't, just give them a cue and tell them, remind them, say happy birthday, and they can do that. Be consistent. Don't change the rules. They want consistency. If something comes up and you do need, and as they grow, begin to change something, change one part of the rule at a time. Don't change everything. Don't just throw them under the bus. Change one thing over a period of time until you get to where you're going with your new rule. And don't forget to include extended family members in your plan. It doesn't work if you're the only one at home that knows how to get the best from your child, or how to express to your child what they need or want. Include grandmas, include grandpas, include everybody, include your minister, whoever comes into contact with your family. Make sure that they're in on the plan too, and they have the best tips and ideas that you can to have your child participate. And then when there's a situation where your child is doing something that's wrong that you don't want them to do, don't tell them, don't do this, stop that, quit it. Because if you tell them to stop, don't, you're taking away their option. They don't know what you want. You've told them not to, but you've not told them what they should do. So always speak in the specifics that you want them to do. At school, if they're running down the hallway, you don't tell them stop running. You tell them we walk in the hallway. So use the correct behavior as your correction, not the don't, stop, quit. And that's really the easy 101 of communication. But I'll be here to answer any questions that you have later, or if you have any right now. But everyone is different, so I will tailor it to whatever I can to help you in your individual situation. Okay, thank you.